episode of Morning Market Call. I'm your host, Todd Castagna, along with my co-host, Rhett Weller.
Hey, Todd.
Hello, Rhett. And we're here to talk to you today about a special invite that BYU got recently. A group of 20 MBA students, all members of the Silver Fund and a couple of others. We had to visit Warren Buffett in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, the Oracle.
The Oracle of Omaha. It's a fantastic opportunity. So 20 of us students flew out to Omaha, Nebraska, and went to Berkshire Hathaway's headquarters. That's Warren Buffett's holding company. There we had the opportunity to meet with Warren Buffett for a 20-minute question and answer session. Warren Buffett answered all of our questions. He was very gracious with his time. There were about 7 other schools there with about 20 students per, and he went through questions from each and every school. After which, Warren took us all out to lunch.
We got our pictures, look at
that. we got the chance to meet with Warren individually after lunch. He took pictures with us. He would do pretty much anything we wanted him to. He put on a BYU cap at one point, put on a Jimmer jersey, and as you can see, would do pretty much just about any pose, especially this one with Rhett right now.
Hey, I just took him in a business deal. That's what that shot is. I fleeced him.
He was upset. You shrewdly out-negotiated the man.
Yeah.
It truly was an absolutely incredible opportunity. Warren Buffett is the 3rd wealthiest man in the world. He has a lot of demands on his time, and to take so much time to meet with with BYU MBAs and with several other MBAs, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I think a unique part of being a part of the BYU MBA program. Rhett, so what did you think about Warren Buffett personally?
I mean, personally, the guy is amazing. He is a savant in the business world, so to speak, but he is very lucid. He's 81 years old, and I never once felt like he didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. I felt like he was sharp. I felt like he was extremely intelligent. He has his opinions, but he's very disarming in the way he expresses his opinions.
Mm-hmm. Even political issues.
Yeah, even political issues.
He was able to explain them in a way where if you didn't agree with him, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You can't hate the guy,
Right.
He jokes about how he jumps out of bed in the morning and whistles to work, and you can almost believe it sitting there talking to him. In the Q&A, I love the Q&A. We got to ask whatever questions we wanted. It was 2 hours long. We just rotated through the schools, and it was great. One question, we talked a lot about the U.S. economy, how the U.S. economy is doing, what its potential is, how long are we going to be in this recession. I thought he offered some optimism. It felt like, he said, this country has a history of innovation, of efficiency, and of righting the ship, so to speak.
So even with all the turmoil right now, and even a lot of people saying that growth has stopped, China's going to take off, the U.S. is in shambles, he still is optimistic about the growth of the U.S. economy.
Yeah, that's what I got from it. And he said out of 100 years, the U.S. has 80 good ones, 10 or 12 bad ones, and then the others are kind of in the middle. We're probably kind of in the middle or on the bad ones. 2008 was a bad one. He talks about the bailout a little bit.
I think that's reflected in his investment strategy too, where he's a buy and hold guy, where he'll buy an underpriced asset, and he believes in the growth of the U.S. economy. He believes in the growth of asset value. So he'll buy something, and he has a firm belief that the U.S. economy will aid him in his growth of his portfolio. It's an optimistic way to look at things.
Yeah, he talked about everything was 5 to 10 years. He goes, I don't know what to do tomorrow, but in 5 to 10 years, it'll get better. We'll be better off 5 to 10 years from now than where we are right now. He said one sure thing, real output per capita will be greater. And he said how it's divided is another story, kind of an ode to the 99% and the Occupy Wall Street movement. He said, rising tide lifts all boats, but lately it only lifts the yachts, which made me laugh.
Right, exactly. So he was optimistic about the future of the general growth of the economy, but he had major skepticism about wealth distribution. That was a major issue for him, and he's been really active with the Obama administration and giving them advice. He's had some pretty vocal and controversial points sometimes about tax issues, but he raises a lot of good issues. He says that wealth distribution and the taxes in the economy really show how you feel about how your country feels about the distribution of wealth, how you feel about the poor in your society. That was interesting. He also kind of gave a little bit of a parable. He says, before this life, if you can you have 2 people and you're going to put both at the same time period, You give one the opportunity to go to the U.S., the other the opportunity to go to a country like Bangladesh, and you say, okay, let's see if we can make this equitable. So he starts taxing the person in the U.S. a certain amount. He says, well, if I tax you 30%. And I tax the person in Bangladesh 0%.
Would you still
go to the U.S.? And the answer is yes, I would. You know, I don't want to go to Bangladesh. He says, what about 40%, 50%? The answer is still yes, I want to go to the U.S. And he said the answer would probably get somewhere like 80 to 90% where you would actually, you know, consider going to Bangladesh. And so he says, you know, hard work and ingenuity is a huge part of our economy, and we need to encourage those things with financial incentives. But you have to realize that a lot of what you have comes from the system that you were lucky enough to be born into. Yeah. And that was kind of the crux of his position.
Yeah. You know, when you talk, I mean, we're talking general economic terms, but he also talked about individual companies, and some, you know, people ask questions like, hey, why did you buy this? Wow, what about this strategy? So I've got in my notes here a railroad. You know, he talked about the railroad industry. Todd, what did you think about that?
I actually thought that was a pretty good purchase by him. He bought it a couple years ago when the economy's down. He's always wanted to get into railroads. He bought a company called Burlington Northern, or BNSF, for about $34 billion. And you know, he likes to look at the fundamentals of the economy. He says, you know, rail is still the most cost-effective way to transfer goods in the United States of America. If rail went down, you know, the cost of transporting things would skyrocket. He says it's going to be a part of the U.S. future indefinitely. He believes that profits are going to be great in the railroad industry. In fact, he said if he could buy another railroad, he would, but the government won't allow him because of monopolistic issues.
Problems,
But I thought that was really interesting. He also mentioned that he was. He also talked about why he purchased Bank of America, which was a really interesting purchase, very controversial purchase actually, where you know, he gave the wink and the nod to B of A, gave them a lot of capital. They gave him some preferred shares and some warrants.
Some very lucrative preferred shares and warrants.
Very lucrative preferred shares and warrants, but that all, you know, it only makes sense if B of A stays around. And there's a lot of questions about whether or not B of A can do that, given their acquisition of Countrywide and such and such. So he explained that, just talking about B of A's great asset base. They have a lot of accounts on deposit. Plus, he mentioned other issues in the past where American Express had major issues in the 60s. That was the main comp that he gave us, was that American Express went through some major legal turmoil in the 60s. Yet they came out of it because of their brand name and because they righted the ship, and Warren Buffett bought into that, and it's been a great investment for him.
Well, and the great part, you know, when he referenced American Express, he said the great part was it wasn't because it was, you know, something he needed a return on right away. He knew the CEO needed time, and so the American Express scandal, I think it was a salad oil scandal. I looked it up. It was.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, they were pretty much lying about how much oil was being imported. But the new CEO who came in needed 4, 5, 10 years. Actually, the guy who went to jail over that got out of jail before American Express was done fixing the problem. So he sees that long-term strategy, and it obviously has paid off well for him to be able to hold for that long term and say, you know what, here's the new CEO. I'm going to give you time. So the Bank of America, you know, he's going to give. I can't remember his name. The CEO's time. He's going to give him time to right the ship.
All right, Moynihan. Yeah,
Moynihan.
Yeah, he's a long-term holder. I think it's amazing that still at the age of 81, he's still thinking long-term.
Long-term, yeah.
He's so disciplined that, you know, I mean, he's still so sharp, but you have to think that even if he lives way past the average, he's only going to live another 15, 20 years. And and
20 years to put him at 101. I mean,
exactly. Well, how sharp he is right now, he really might do it.
I mean,
and how much he enjoys his life.
He drank a cherry Coke while we were there. Had, you know.
How many sugar sodas did he drink while we were there?
A couple.
A few, including that root beer float at lunch. But anyways, he's sharp as a tack. He's still disciplined. I really admire that about him. There's a lot to admire about him, which we're going to get to in another episode of Morning Market Call.
Yeah. On that note, I think stay tuned. So, yeah, that's our first episode regarding Warren Buffett. Stay tuned for another episode regarding a little bit more about his personal life and advice for other people. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
MMC is brought to you by the Marriott School of Management in association with the Brigham Young University Department of Communications. MMC is made possible by a generous donation from Larry Tasjan and Gary Williams. and is produced by Rhett Weller, Todd Castagna, Mason Chen, Joel Toby, and Sabrina Beck, with line producing by Beth and Brian Grimmett. For more information, find us on Twitter or at morningmarketcall.org.